Happy Wednesday, guys. Today we've got the awesome Brian Hoadley on the call. Brian's kindly taken 20, 30 minutes, depending on how much we chat about, out of his day to talk about his experience working with us in the 1% Blueprint. Hopefully there's going to be some pretty insightful, helpful stuff for anyone who's watching. So keep your ears open. On that note, I'll just hand over to you, Brian. Do you want to just introduce yourself, who you are, what you do?
Right. So thanks, Luke. My name is Brian Hoadley. I do a lot, actually. I'm a consultant by day. I work in the design field in digital, working with clients, global clients. And I suppose by night or early morning, I'm a novelist. I write novels and have published 2 novels over the last couple of years during the pandemic, and currently working on my 3rd.
Nice. Cool. So we're having a chat today, Brian, to talk about like your experience having worked with me and us in the 1% Blueprint program with the 1%. But I guess a good place to start, or a good jumping off point, was like rewind maybe 14, 15 weeks now, probably. When we first initially had a conversation, like I can't remember exactly how you got in touch. I think maybe you might have seen a post of a client of mine, and then you dropped me a note. What was going on then? Like, what was your thoughts of like, right, I want to speak to this guy, or I need some help, something's not working. What was going off?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, the pandemic kind of threw a lot of things up into the air. I felt like I had worked on a lot of things around, for instance, my writing, re-engaging with wanting to write and getting that on track. I had started looking at what I was doing in terms of business and how I was working. I had tried many times over the years to lose weight, to get fit, to try and kind of sort myself out. And I think I'd kind of reached a point, I was having, my mother back in the States was ill. I'd gone home and spent time with family, and, everything was kind of up in the air. Gave me a lot to think about in terms of life and where I was going, and what was I doing? and I think where I was at was that I felt like I had kind of individually tried a number of different things, but I was at a point where I kind of felt like it was something bigger, that I needed to attempt to do. I needed to, not just fix a thing. I needed to figure out what are the range of things that are important to me that I need to kind of tackle. And I did see a post on LinkedIn, interestingly, from one of your other 1%ers. And I read that, and it really resonated with where I was at that point in time. Everything he had to say was what was kind of circulating in my head, and it just felt like that serendipitous moment. I just wanted to reach out and connect, and that's where I was at.
Awesome. Okay. And so then we had a chat, didn't we? We jumped on the call, we had a conversation, and I think something you touched on there, and we can dig into this a little bit, was I think a common thing for you and then the royal you with lots of people is that, well, I'm not feeling great about myself. Everything's a bit all over the place, so and I don't want to lose some weight, so I'm going to restrict everything I eat. I'm going to on a diet Monday. I'm going to start to Monday, and then I'm going to try and do something in the gym. And that's your operating manual, right? Which is, and that may have worked in the past on and off, because like there has been times you've been like Nina by smashing the gym and restricting what you eat, but then there's a cyclical nature where you get back to where you started, and that's where we had the conversation.
Yep. And
in my experience, I think it's what you touched on. It's what we can talk about next, I guess, is that they're 2 parts of a much bigger puzzle, right? That puzzle being your life with everything else that's going on. And I think if we acutely focus on those 2 things and neglect everything else, I think that's where a lot of guys end up just stuck spinning the wheels, because they're not looking at the more holistic picture. I know holistic's a bit of a wanky phrase, but like it's true, isn't it? And I think from when we spoke, that's kind of was where you were at with, especially the more the personal stuff for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a moment where I realized that how I worked, what I was eating, not the fact that I wasn't really getting exercise, but I was making a lot of excuses for why I was eating and snacking the way I was eating, and not going for exercise, not enough time in the day. We all know that's now a fallacy. And it made me realize that there were more touch points than I think I realized that there were in the past. And so it wasn't just about. I think interestingly, when we did originally talk, I think my focus was even though I had these things in my head, my focus was on, okay, let's get things working so I can lose weight.
Yeah.
But obviously, as you know, it became about so much more than that for me. So,
cool.
Yeah.
So ostensibly, when we first spoke, it was like, I want to get some weight off. I've got lots of stuff going on, and I want to get a better control of it. But the initial burning bridge was more like, I want to lose some body weight, and that was the main focus. And as you said, that didn't pivot, because that has always been a part of it, and that is still a part of it, right? But it was like that became less of the, Moses in the burning bush. It was like there's other things going on, right? So that's kind of a nice segue then into like, well, we had the conversation. You decided, right, let's do it. We decided we want to work together. You joined the program. Let's fast forward now to kind of like what you've achieved, and then maybe we can then dig into like what's helped you achieve some of those things and what you've learned. I think that's quite a nice way to spin it. So as we sit today, where are you at, I guess, physically, mentally? Like, what are your, I guess, key achievements from coming through the process?
Well, I've lost 6 kilos of weight, which I'm happy about, and I'm continually now on a downward path, which is good. But more importantly, I think, and this was the realization probably halfway through the program or so. The measurements of my midsection are down now. I've taken 11 centimeters off my midsection.
Maybe like 5 inches or something, isn't it?
It's become really noticeable, particularly with clothes. And I go to the gym 5 to 6 days a week, which I'm actually really enjoying, and I think that's been really good for me both physically and mentally. It's good in terms of stress release and anything that might be going on in terms of work or life. It's really helped me get some focus back and burn some energy. My biceps, surprisingly,
bigger, right? That's the holy grail. It's like the weight comes down, trying to get smaller, your biceps get bigger. That's what you want, right?
My biceps 5 centimeters bigger, which is.
Exactly. That's good.
Yeah, it's really that's really it's as I said to you recently, it's probably hugely impacted my golf swing. Although I don't really play very good golf anyway, so maybe it's actually positively impacted.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of physical things. In terms of eating, nutrition, I snack way less than I used to. I eat a lot more fruit now when I am snacking. Still don't do breakfasts, which is great. Get up, cold showers. I'm doing the whole. I'm still doing the whole thing. There are days I stand there and I think, it's really cold out. Don't I? And I'm like, and you just go. And actually, strangely, you don't even notice the difference now. It's very exhilarating in the morning, but it doesn't feel that cold snap of what am I doing? So really enjoying that. Drinking a lot more water, which has been really good, I think, just generally for my body. And eating a lot more sensibly. More protein in veg, a lot less carbs. And when I do carb out, and I do from time to time, I actually really enjoy it a lot more now, I think, because it feels like more of a treat than before, and I don't feel as compelled now to do it all the time, which is fantastic. So it's kind of mentally it's changed my relationship with food, which is something that I really did want to get out of it. And then in terms of everything else, I mean, I sat down over, Christmas, which I think I said in the sessions, planned out 2022 in terms of my business, my writing, all the things that I wanted to do. I've spent the first quarter of this year working on strategy for the business and a whole new plan and direction that I want to take what I'm doing from a consulting viewpoint. And that's been amazing. I've not really sat and done that before. I do it for clients, but I've never done it for myself. And I think just generally, my viewpoint on things now is that before I think I used to be really really good at saying, oh, it's because of this, it's because of that. I was like an excuse engine. And now I actually realize it all rests with me. At the end of the day, it rests with me. If I don't do it, that's because I chose not to do it. If I do it, it's because I chose to do it. And so it's really taught me a lot. And again, the program covers so many different things, and you just don't realize it when you go into the program how much it's actually going to cover and you're going to get out of it. But it fundamentally for me touched on all the things that I needed it to touch on in order to make me realize that actually, it's my life, I'm living it, and it's up to me to actually make decisions about what I do and don't do. So that's where I'm at today.
That's a pretty amazing place, I would say. And I think the thing that you said there that speaks to me, which I think is so important, is that whole control bit and the self-efficacy and then self-esteem that comes with that. Because when life's happening at you and you're making excuses, and look, on paper those excuses are valid, right? Things do stop us, or can have the ability to stop us doing things, but you've always got a choice. And once the sooner you realize that, and you can take control of that and ownership. And I think sometimes ownership, people may think it's scary, like drill sergeant. It's not about that. It's just about being completely honest and frank with yourself and going, well, what can I do and what is within my control? And then when you start to take control in all areas, that feels incredibly empowering because you're in the driver's seat. You're not just letting life happen. And some of the things you take control of might be quite challenging and it might push you out your comfort zone. But actually, that's a good thing. Something I posted the other day, I said, like, inertia breeds anxiety. Like forward momentum, achieving things, hitting goals, that feels good. And I think if you're in that state and you're taking control of whatever it might be, I'm going to choose to go out and get pissed tonight and hang over tomorrow. Fine. Okay, well, I'm owning that decision. I'm cool with that. And it will have certain consequences, but that's my choice. That's good.
Yep.
Rather than, I'm going to be good tonight, have 7 pints, feel sorry for yourself, beat yourself up all the next day, have a 5 guys, and then whip yourself internally. That's one random example. But there's countless of examples of that, I think, where you can take control of what you're doing, like with work, yourself, your partner, relationships, the whole piece. And I think that's something that seems to have resonated really, really, a lot with you, Brian, which is great to see,
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, that sense of taking ownership, I think, was really important, and it took the program for me to get to a point where I realized, that I could do that. Like there's almost a point where you feel like you have to give yourself permission. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's your life. You can make those decisions, go ahead and do it. And in terms of the challenges, the interesting thing about that is, I think one of the things I really liked about the program was the things that that you put into the program that were not things that someone like myself would normally do on a day-to-day basis. So they were challenges for me personally, and I know for a lot of the guys as well. But they were the kinds of things that taught you over a period of time that you can take something that that feels difficult, feels almost impossible sometimes, turn it on its head, make it into a positive challenge, and then challenge yourself to overcome that thing, right? And to do it. And I think that's one of the things I've really carried away from the program, is that things that historically have made me feel uncomfortable, things that I kind of shy away from, now I kind of look at them more directly and just say, okay, well, what is it about that thing that I'm shying away from? What is it I find uncomfortable about that? Yeah. And I just try and turn it now into a challenge. How can I actually overcome that?
I think that's something we spoke about, wasn't it? That is... often if there's a thing you're like, oh, I'm not sure, should I? That's, for me, that's like a red flag to go, that's exactly what you need to go and explore. Like, why is it feeling about that? And but then when you do push that, like you're saying here, and you challenge it and you go, oh, I did that. It's you, no one else has done that. Like the way the program works, I'm not doing fucking anything. It's you who's in the driver's seat. And when you start to feel that, it's like, oh my God, I can do that. What next? And it could be little things or big things, but that's an incredibly empowering way to operate, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was, I think that's kind of, well, I mean, for me, it was one of the big things I took away from the program was, it's okay to turn those stones over and see what's underneath them and then deal with it. So I think that's the key as well. It's not just recognizing it, because in the past I probably recognized it, which is why I shied away from it. But now it's about recognizing it and not shying away from it and doing something about it. So
yeah, it's that the sort of stoic way of thinking of like the obstacle is the way, and that can be often through some quite hardships in your life. Often you find at the other end of that, you see a period of growth, and actually that bad thing that was at the time really difficult ends up turning into something incredibly positive. But that can work on a micro level as well, with like, well, that was hard. Bloody hell, I did that. I feel quite good now, and it's a powerful place to be. That's quite a nice segue into kind of like, well, what were your main learnings and takeaways? We've already started to touch on this anyway through the process. But like, if you were to say, it doesn't have to be 3, but I'll use 3 as a nice number. Like 3 key takeaways or learnings that you've taken from going through the process that you want to highlight.
So that's a good question. 3.
It doesn't have to be 3. There's no pressure.
Yeah. There was probably 20, but I can probably only think of 1 now that you've asked me. But no. So I think one of them was, getting back to what I was saying about, it's my life and the buck stops with me. It's kind of easy to kind of hear that and think, well, yeah, of course, that seems obvious, right? We're all in control of ourselves, but the way we live our lives isn't always like that. And so that view that if I'm not doing something and I'm sitting around feeling sorry for myself for not doing something, that's nobody else's fault. It's my fault. and I think, a key learning for me was to, as soon as I start thinking or feeling that way, to look back at myself and say, well, why are you not doing it? So I think that's one thing for me that I've taken away is to change the way I think about these things, the mental model for how I think about it. The second thing I think is no quick fixes. So this wasn't, I specifically wanted to do this over the Christmas period because I knew it was probably going to be one of the most challenging periods of the year in terms of being challenged by food, being challenged by, events and people and, responsibilities and all these other things that kind of crop in during that point of the year. So I think that one of the things I learned over the 12 weeks is that this is not about, a quick fix to lose weight or, or a quick fix to diet, or you go to the gym for a little bit and then you stop. This is about lifestyle, and it's about life, and it's a journey. So for me now, it's no longer about, I'm doing any of these things for 2 months for this result. This is about how I live my life.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the really big things I've taken away is I've continued to practice every day the things that I learned in that, in that program, and that has become my life. That's how I now see myself. It's how I live. So that's a second thing.
It's a pretty big one. That, like, that's it's an important one, especially that's the whole, because I think if we look at these like a problem, if you've got a problem, you're overweight, you're not feeling good about yourself, everything's all over the place, no work-life balance, whatever. There's a multitude of things that happen for a lot of guys. We think, right, I'm gonna have this one thing's going to fix it. Like, that's not how life works. You are the mass and sum of everything you do every day. And if everything you do every day is resulting in you sitting and feeling like you are today, and that's not great, well, those things and areas need to change. And one big or small thing isn't going to fix that, in my experience, right? Which is exactly what you're saying there.
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, it's it is a journey, and it's it was a fundamental decision for me about how do I want to live the rest of my life, right? And seeing things with family last year and family health and things like that, I realized actually I need to be more in control of that, of how I live my life, because I don't want to go down certain paths. And so, I also don't want to just do this for a month or 2 months or 3 months and then walk away and say, oh, okay, I did that and I had a little tiny result and that was it. And then everything reverts to normal. I wanted normal to be different. And I kind of think, the pandemic kind of shook stuff up enough to begin with. And then, the program kind of gave me a lot of challenges and a lot of skills and a lot of takeaways and a lot of confidence as well. To then say, okay, well, actually, I can be different. This doesn't have to be there can be a new normal. It doesn't have to be the old normal. I think the third thing is the idea of resets. So it's like you've said, it's fine to go out. If you're going to go out for a drink, own it. And actually, if you're going to go out and drink, have fun, enjoy time with your friends and enjoy it, but own it, And the next day when you get up, own it. You made the choice to do it. You did it. Now just get back on your feet and get moving again. And every day is a new day, and every day is an opportunity to just pick up and continue forward. And I don't see those things anymore. I suppose before the program, like if I would diet or something like that, if I had a day where I kind of broke the diet, I just feel guilty, right? And so for ages, it gets in your head, and it does funny things to you, and it slowly breaks down your resolve to continue the diet.
Yeah.
But now I actually feel like, well, actually, yeah, I'm going to go out, Thursday night, I'm going to have drinks with friends. I'm going to eat like a pig. I'm going to love it. Next day, I'm going to get up and I'm going to pick myself right up and keep going. And that's okay. And I think it's more the sense that I'm making the choice now, versus before. I think I would allow these things to happen, and then the guilt would set in, right? But now it's not like that.
And those sort of approaches, like a diet, like they don't accommodate those things. You're either on this perfect way of eating, or you're not. And if you're not, you failed. And if you failed, you're a failure, and you messed up, and it's bad. And whereas actually, if you build into like your life that you want to at some point in your life go out and have drinks with friends and enjoy yourself, or factor in that's a positive thing that influences and you planned. Sometimes bad things can happen in life. People get sick, get COVID, whatever. Like that will have an impact on your ability to do things. That is something that's fundamentally out of your control. But what's in your control is how you choose to react to that. Well, if that circumstance dictates that your schedule's all over the place and you can't do some of the things that you know are important to you, does that make you a bad person? No. How does it ruin everything? No. Well, but then can you then mold what you know is important to your life to keep going? And it's the same thing. It's a different event, but it's the same process. And if whatever your mechanism you're using to try and help yourself look and feel better and operate better doesn't accommodate those things, what the fuck's the point? Because that's going to happen all the time. It's called life,
Yeah, completely. Yeah, and I think I think you reiterated that during the program, and it was good to hear that, because it was reinforcing through the program. And also doing it over Christmas, of course, helped too, because obviously there were lots of challenges, and so you had to deal with them on a nearly daily basis through that period of time. But yeah, I mean, it's about giving yourself permission to be that person, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel now.
Nice. So this might be a bit of a curveball question, Brian, so if you haven't got an answer, don't worry. But we may have already covered it, so you might just say it's what we already talked about. But if you were to say, like, of everything that we worked on through the program, and ultimately the reason you want to do some of this is the end result, which is what we want to describe, which is you being in an empowered place to live your life, look and feel great, and all that good stuff. But I think equally, it's helpful for people to know, like, well, how does that happen? Like, you started in one place, you ended in another. Well, what was the magic sauce, whatever you want to call it? So I think we've touched on a lot there, which is great. But if you were to think, like, just what was the most surprising thing, or of what we did, you went, oh, I wasn't expecting that, or there's something that was maybe more challenging than not, like that sort of stands out. Is there anything that you can think of?
Well, I mean, the most surprising thing is I got through it. 12 weeks. Because when I started, I don't think I was, I don't think you're ever really prepared, in terms of your mindset for going into a program that touches so many different aspects, because we're not used to that really in life, even though that's how we live our lives every day. So I think for me, there probably wasn't one magic moment. I mean, there were, the way the program is paced, the challenges ramp up over time. I think it was that sense of accomplishment that you get from trying something at the beginning of a week and struggling, and at some point during the week succeeding, and seeing, like, within a week span that you actually have the ability to do that thing which you at the beginning of the week you didn't think you could do. At the beginning of the program, you never even thought you would try and do. And I think it was the way the program was set up and worked and paced. It was the cadence of it that somehow taught you that you could overcome these challenges, that you could do these things. And I mean, probably the big thing for all of us is burpees.
Nobody likes burpees, right?
Yeah, nobody likes burpees. I think I think Jocko mentions
Yeah.
in one of his things, if you're still in bed and you haven't gotten out of bed yet, this is for you. Get up, do 10 burpees. And and everywhere you look up burpees online, everybody kind of says the exercise that everybody loves to hate.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one about the challenge thing, because the point you get to near the end of the program and what you do, like if I'd have said to you at the start, and where you're at the start, you'll be doing that in a few weeks, you'd have been no fucking right.
No way.
No, but then you do, and you are, and I think that speaks to that empowerment, right?
Yeah, completely. And I think even things like the gym. I mean, I've done the gym in spurts in the past, and now I go and every week I'm challenging myself to do more and more and more and more. And I think I'd mentioned to you the like even simple things like dumbbell press, chest presses. Starting off, I don't know, I started off somewhere around 14, 16 kilos dumbbells, and I'm up to 26 kilo dumbbells now.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't even think when I first went into the gym during this process that I could even pick up the 26 kilo dumbbells. So it's a different, you kind of, it's those challenges, it's those things that you mentally push yourself to overcome. And I think those moments, being confronted with burpees, with squats, all the things that I probably shied away from in the past that I didn't do because they are difficult. But when they're part of a program of activity and they're there, it's probably a bit like being on a track and there's hurdles. You either run around them or you jump over them. You learn to jump over them, right?
Exactly, and that's the empowerment. And equally, if the program was entirely about burpees, you wouldn't want to do it because it's one thing. And then when you realise you're achieving things in all other areas of life, and there's like, well, fucking done that and that and that. Fuck it, I'm gonna give that a go. I can do it. It's hard, but I can do it. Like, yay me, that's the point.
Oh yeah, completely.
Awesome. So we're coming up to time, Brian, and I know you're a busy man, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I think that's been really insightful and hopefully very helpful for anyone watching. And I think for me, the key takeaway, it's my program, I'm going to say it, but equally is that whole, and I think you can tell me I'm wrong, but where's your mouth, that step back and looking at the bigger picture. And I think for anyone watching this is that if you've got a problem or you're not feeling great with how you physically look and how you feel and everything feels a bit, it's coming at you, it's not one thing. It's about step back and look at, there'll be a multitude of things that you need to address. And those individual things aren't necessarily big or scary. That's the point. It's not like you have to car crash your life, but it's about a process of taking a step back and looking at that bigger picture and working out the small pieces that you need to pull. Because actually, a lot of it's really small, and it's just making sure that that's done in the right way to get where you want, and not just honing on one thing. Because often in life, when it's all a life, is one specific thing going to fix it? It doesn't, does it?
No.
So, if someone was watching this, Brian, and they were thinking, I'm interested, but I'm not sure. I don't quite get what it's about, or I'm just a bit on the fence. Maybe they're considering dropping me a message, but they're sort of just umming and ahhing about it. What would you say to someone who's probably in your shoes 14 weeks ago and is not sure whether they want to have a chat? What would you say to them?
I'd say that the overriding excuse is always going to be there's never a good time for it. The reality is that the moment you're in is the best time to start. And the moment you see this and you think that would I would get something out of that would do something for me, is the best moment to get in touch and reach out and have that conversation, because it's about taking responsibility, right? And I think at the end of the day, nobody's going to reach out for you. They're not going to click that link. They're not going to send that email. It's up to you to really reach out and to really want to make a change. And I can tell you, I mean, not just for myself, but the guys that went through this with me, There was a whole crew of us going through it. We all had every excuse under the sun. We could probably write a book about excuses at the beginning. And the reality is we all got through it, and we're all in a better place as a result of it. So, there's no question in my mind. This is, I've done lots of different things over the years. I've tried everything, trust me. But this has been the thing that really sticks with me. It's been the thing that has made the most change in my life. And, I would click that link again, willingly 10 times. So,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Brian. That was a ringing endorsement if there was one. So if anyone is watching this and they're interested in having a chat like Brian said, depending on where you're at, drop a note in the comments or ping me a direct message and we can book an initial chat and see where you're at. We're more than happy to help. On that note, I hope everyone who's watching has got something out of this. Brian, thank you so much for your time. It's very much appreciated. And have a great Wednesday. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everybody.